Are the Pentagon holding on to information about UFO technology that can, quote, turn us into charcoal briskets? That's what we're going to be covering in today's episode of the Paranormal Roundup, as some new information has surfaced from Tim Burchett, I believe that's how it's pronounced, has come forward and said that the Pentagon is withholding information from the public about potential alien technology that can be quite harmful to humanity, and he's pushing for them to come forward, release the files about this information, but also about the Pentagon silencing potential UAP, which is unidentified aerial phenomena, which is basically another word for UFOs, and silencing them from coming forward and speaking at testimonies in the House of UAP hearings, which obviously unidentified aerial phenomena hearings, which is basically a platform for people who have had sightings, had run-ins with UFOs or potential UFOs and UAPs, to speak what they've seen. Now, obviously, this kind of all coincides with what happened with David Grush a few weeks ago, the infamous UFO whistleblower who came forward as an ex-Ministry of Defense, or what is it, Department of Defense over in the US, spokesperson who basically blew the whistle on UFOs and confirmed alien life and collaborations on planet Earth. So, this video that was released 19 hours at the time of recording from The Hill, alien technology info hidden by Pentagon, can turn us into charcoal briskets, says GOP rep. We're going to take a little look at the video, we're going to break it down, we're going to talk about it as we go through, because this could be really big, and it could push, once again, the UFO thing out the water, just like David Grush did when UFO Twitter completely blew up, UFO TikTok completely blew up. This could be a big deal. Let's take a little look.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are warming up to the idea of UFOs. In fact, some are outright claiming that they not only exist, but that humanity wouldn't be able to handle the truth about them. Congressman Tim Burchett, who sits on the House Oversight Committee holding UFO hearings, is calling for the files to be released. Here he is on News Nation's Morning in America yesterday. Let's watch.
And all I want is, I don't want to send the Pentagon.
Right, News Nation, just quickly, I'm going to interject. News Nation is actually the media outlet that broke the David Grush story, so they are basically all on board with this. They are completely all over this like a rash, right? Anything UFO related, News Nation are there because this was their big break. And after speaking to the Paranormal Chris on the podcast, speak to your podcast, shameless plug, link in description, you know, he said that this was their big break, this was their opportunity to put their names on the map, and boy have they done it.
Another red cent, because that's what they're after. They see the public opinion, people like legitimate media like yourself are covering it. They're going to smell dollars. And, and honestly, the Pentagon loses over $1 billion a year in their audits, and we don't have the guts to do anything about it. We don't need to study it anymore. Just release the files. Just release the unredacted files.
Burchett also spoke to News Nation's Dan Abrams last night, where he alleged the Department of Defense is attempting to block potential insider witnesses from testifying in the unidentified aerial phenomenon public hearing that the committee is holding later this month.
Now, this is interesting because if these people, in my opinion, had were just, crazy tinfoil hat people who were running around with crazy stories, why is the Pentagon trying to shut them down? Why is the Pentagon trying to stop them from releasing their testimonies and speaking out about these things? It's what harm would it be doing if it wasn't true? It makes you think.
We're trying to nail down all the details, but of course, we have the Pentagon pushing against us, calling some of our witnesses, telling them, don't go testify before this committee. If we have to, we'll use the power of subpoena. We'll bring them in there and make them tell the truth, because this thing has been covered up. It is ridiculous. The Pentagon needs to come forth with the truth finally, and let's move on to another issue. But until then, I think we need to find out what's going on.
Latest polling shows that plenty of people think the government is in fact hiding the truth about what it might know about UFOs. According to Redfield and Wilton Strategies, 57% of those surveyed said they believe the government has more information about UFOs and alien life than it's letting on. Only 57%. Again, I'm more skeptical than you. I think that comes through in our about alien life in general. I think this comes through in our discussions. But I too would, of course, say that, yes, they know more than they're letting on. They know more on every single subject than they're letting on.
I do agree with what he's just said there, actually. Like, every government across the world is clinging on to information that they don't want released to the public, either because it's out of public interest that, you know, it's a need-to-know basis. We don't need to know these things, but they do. So, you know, why worry us with things that aren't necessary to us, you know? But when it comes to something as big as this, it goes back to what they said at the beginning. Would humanity be able to handle this level of information? Would they be able to comprehend this information that, you know, I highly doubt. I'm not a tinfoil hat kind of, you know, like throwing out like rumours and all the rest of it, but in a massive, vast universe that is ever expanding at an unfathomable rate, it's impossible to think, in my opinion, that we are on our own, you know? So that's my thoughts and opinions on it. But would I be able to understand or get my head around potentially what these other beings are like, what they intend, you know, what kind of technology they have? And also, unfortunately, we're in a world where, you know, we're forever in a race for something. So the US maybe is clinging on to information about aliens if they're the only ones that know about it. Who knows? Because they want that technology and not another country to get it. I don't know. That's speculation only. But let's listen on. Because
they are, you know, hiding there's a lack of transparency by habit, by inclination and ideology.
Yeah, I do appreciate Burchett's focus on the Pentagon audit issue, the enormous sums of money that it loses routinely. I believe it's failed its last 5 audits. There was the news cycle of the government discovering $6.3 billion
extra that we gave to Ukraine.
That we sent to Ukraine.
How nice of us.
You know, in a world where there's so much criticism about government spending from conservatives, it is refreshing, even if it's only in this kind of limited context, to see some of that concern about military spending and not just spending on social programs that so many people, especially in states like Tennessee, where he's from, really rely on. That being said, I mean, he wrote this op-ed recently about this issue. He points out that we were supposed to get a fresh new start toward new answers about these UAPs in June of 2021 when the Pentagon released an unclassified report on the existence of UAPs. But unfortunately, of the 144 reported UAP encounters the report discussed, it provided an explanation for just one. Who on earth wants to read a report that provides information on less than 1% of the encounters it's supposed to address? He goes on to point out all of these moments where we were supposed to have disclosures where none were forthcoming, the closed-door hearings with classified information that he is characterizing as sort of a bait and switch and a shell game of sorts. He says this lack of transparency isn't just unfair to the public, but it could put the safety of our pilots in jeopardy because of so many spottings come from military personnel who are in the air. So, you know, this is an issue that has galvanized folks. I understand why, as a longtime sci-fi nerd and Trekkie. I feel like I do have an obligation to say that I hope that the focus on this issue doesn't come at the expense on focusing on the kind of domestic spending that a lot of people, including in his district, are really struggling with. I read recently that 24%, almost a quarter of everybody who lives in Tennessee has had medical debt negatively affect their credit rating. I mean... Okay,
I think they're getting a bit political for my liking, so, you know, I'm not about the politics. I'm just here to hear about the aliens. So, the spending, I'm going to kind of push that to the wayside because I'm not educated on that. I don't understand it. It's not my place to talk about it. I don't really care, if I'm perfectly honest. But back to the alien stuff. There have been some declassified files, actually, like they said, back in 2021, which were, obviously, when something gets declassified, it can be released to the public as general information. I think there's usually, is it a decade? Things get classified for, and then the government decide whether it's reclassified or declassified. So if it's reclassified, it then becomes classified information again for a further decade. Declassified means it becomes public source knowledge, you know. But those files became declassified, from what I believe and from what I've heard. Those files became declassified which then meant that they should have been released to the public. But the Pentagon held onto them, even though they could have become public knowledge, but they chose not to allow them to become public knowledge without reclassifying them. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So what are they hiding? What have they got to hide? I don't know. But it's a good question to ask, and it's interesting that, again, they're silencing potential whistleblowers. That could be off the back of David Grush causing quite the stir. Maybe it caused a few headaches in the Pentagon that morning when David Grush came out. I don't really know. Again, like I say, if it was all speculative and it was all, hearsay and made up, then what harm is there in these people testifying? But for the Pentagon to literally phone these people up, supposedly phone these people up and say, hey, don't testify, we don't want you to, makes you wonder. So that's all I've got to cover on the Paranormal Roundup and this alien topic so far. Very, very interesting. It goes a lot deeper. So if you guys want to watch the full interview and full episode from that news network, I will leave the link to that full video down in the description. We only used about half of it. It goes on to do a little bit more, but it got a bit political. So, if you want to hear the political side of it, go and check it out. Like I say, link in description. But what do you guys think on this? Are the Pentagon hiding alien life from us, and do you think we would be able to fathom or comprehend alien life if we found out it got proved its existence? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And until next time, guys, I hope that you've enjoyed. If you have, jump to the hell out of that like button, subscribe if you're new, and tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload, and I will spook to you later. Peace.